Okay, let's get started. Welcome to my talk. My name is Jeff. I want to let you know that first and foremost, you're going to be fine. I know you've gone through a divorce and or something challenging, and um, you're going to be fine. Um, Now, my name's Jeff. I want to say that some disclaimers off the top. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. And the difference is that a therapist tends to focus on the past. Obviously, a lawyer focuses on the legal aspect of it. But a coach focuses on where you're going. My training is around transformations, and I'll talk about what that looks like and what that means. And so in this talk, I'm going to go through what my story is, the transformations I had through it, and some of the tactics that worked for me in my divorce. We're going to do a short little workbook, but that's going to give you some guidance on where you're headed. And I think, oh, and then there's going to be a short 1 minute little pitch at the end. So, divorce is war and peace lies within. So, what I notice is a lot of coaches tend to talk about, fix yourself, get better at women. And I think that comes down to the external. And my focus is bringing you inside. The war isn't with your ex, it's not with the courts, it's not with society. And things might seem unfair, and I'm not saying they're not. But if you can bring that war inside and not react to the external, then you can start to overcome those battles, those stories that are in your head, and those limiting beliefs. I like to say that I was fighting a divorce with my head, but really divorce is a fight in the heart. Divorce is almost purely a battle of emotions, and those emotions really exploit you, and they can really lay you bare. So what I'm going to talk about next is my story and how I learned to win at a divorce. Now, one more point before I get into my story. Divorce daddy, that's a kind of a funny term, and I take it as there's a couple meanings to it. Obviously, there's the dad aspect of it, but also I think daddy has this certain energy, and that energy is really rare in today's world. I think daddy energy is that energy that keeps people safe. He knows when to challenge and when to support. He's that guy. He's in control. He provides. He's that guy men want to be and women want to be with. And what I like to say is that you have daddy energy, and I help men like you uncover it. So this is old Jeff. And what I want to do is in your divorce is get you to zoom out. So this is old Jeff. This is Jeff who is married. And obviously this guy was not happy. This guy did not have daddy energy. This is the face of a guy who hates his life. And he's numb to what the world is. And this was probably about 2 years into my marriage. And I was depressed. I was easily controlled. I was a punching bag, essentially. I had no agency. And I got married because I felt like a loser. And this was life for a while. Over time, we had 2 kids. and I distracted myself from the unhappiness with escape, food, drinking, sex, um, movies. You know, I didn't know how to control my emotions, so I just sought escape. And with my ex, we would argue a lot. There was one night I remember going for a walk, and it was really, really cold, and the sky was clear. And I looked up, and there was a plane flying overhead. And I really wished I could be on that plane flying away from my life. But as I've learned since, wherever you go, there you are. So no matter where I had gone in the world, I would still be this depressed punching bag. But what that moment gave me was a hope that there was something else, there was something better for me, something better out there. And so I started doing the work. I lost about 50 pounds in 6 months. And the worst, best thing happened to me. My wife started having an affair. It was it was really interesting. After I started losing weight, she started having an affair. And on the night she admitted to having an affair, um, I wasn't, I felt really happy. It was strange. I had built up enough self-esteem that her affair I wasn't going to live with that. So I left, and she got really angry. And then I started seeing someone new, and she got even angrier. The more I pulled away, the more she tried to control me. And she tried to do that with shame, by shaming me, told me I was being selfish. Um, but what I realized is I started improving myself and she bailed. And when you start improving yourself, um, you are not going to keep everyone. Some people are so invested in who they are, they'll fight tooth and nail to stay where they are. And you don't necessarily have to be on that path of self improvement. You just have to make the decision to go forward from here. So life went on. Um, I decided I was done with her. I was going to make a new life. And so this is buying everything new again. My ex sought to control me as much as possible. She reached out to my friend, just about every single friend, and smeared my name. She told them I was abusive, and even she even bragged to me that she had destroyed a number of my relationships, but she was disappointed, including my parents. But she was disappointed that she couldn't turn some of them against me. And in a lot of ways, I was starting from zero, and she did her best to really isolate me. So I did what any sane person would do, and I started drinking. I went, but I started doing things I had always wanted to do. I traveled as much as my money would allow. This is at a bar in New Orleans. And I just started I started being that guy who would be on a flight. And I went to as many places as I could and saw and did as many unique things that I wanted to do earlier in life. After a while, I started to realize I was avoiding that difficult emotional work and that I may have been partying too much. So I started looking at ways that, and the emotional part still played into it. I was still at the mercy of the emotional side, obviously. I still bit her hooks. And what I really believe is that, as I said earlier, divorce is a an emotional battle, and it's a battle for your energy. And where you focus that energy is into the emotions. So energy, emotion, energy in motion. This is where I had to get a lot more ruthless. I I still had, despite everything I had gone through, a kernel of affection towards her, and I still wanted to save her and show that she was going the wrong way in life. But like I said, I had to get ruthless, and the two tactics that worked best for me to preserve my energy were gray rocking and pink rocking. Gray rocking is when you only reply with very simple terms. You only reply to the facts. So if she tries to throw a hook at you, you reply with only what really matters in out of it. Like, yes, I'm dropping the kids off at 5 o'clock. You don't reply to, you never drop the kids off on time, things like that. Pink rock is basically gray rocking, but you reply with just enough emotion that it looks like you're still connected to her. It's a veneer of friendliness. Those two tactics work for me best. So time went on. Um, I did what it took to buy a house. I worked 3 jobs at one point. And my ex got angry again because I bought the house, and she was angry that it was a nicer house than hers. And this is the point where the legal battles really got it going. And this was kind of the low point of my whole experience. I was dating somebody new. This is my new wife now. And this was the point when my ex took away my kids for the summer, and it was over money. And she kept going on with this emotional abuse thing. And no matter how much success I had, like I bought a new house within 3 years of leaving my ex, I still felt angry on the inside. And I was still having fights with my girlfriend. Um, I wouldn't, but I would, they weren't the same level of arguments, but the same patterns were still there. This was the point I started working with a coach, and I realized that I nobody was coming to save me, and that I was going to have to figure it out myself. So I really dug in on the legal front, and that the legal battle lasted about 4 years. That stack of boxes there cost about $100,000. I struggled mightily at this time emotionally. I had trouble sleeping. I was angry. And this was probably the hardest part, these endless, pointless battles. And I screwed up by engaging in them. I remember thinking, though, that this process was absolutely nuts. I had been a good father. I wasn't the one that had the affair. And yet my ex played the victim, and the court sided with her. It didn't compute in my head. And it just, like I said, it was insane. The old joke of doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result. I kept thinking that if I had just done this one thing, um, it all would get fixed. But divorce isn't real. I mean, it's not based in reality. So I had this moment where I realized that why am I putting any effort into this? The answer was I was trying to talk sanity into a broken system. I was never going to get any satisfaction. I could spend the rest of my life arguing with this, but nobody cared. Um, so this specific day, we were supposed to have a court date, and I just went, "You can have it all. You can whatever. Why am I arguing with this? This didn't make sense." And I realized that it was my reaction to this emotional battle. And emotions, I was trying to logic it out. Um, this guy was a programmer. Me. I was a programmer, and I just thought if I throw enough logic at it, I could solve it. But emotions aren't problems meant to be solved. At some point, you've got to feel them, you've got to allow them to be, and make sure. And by being in my head, I was not feeling them and bottling them up. So that's why I wasn't sleeping. Um, that's why I wasn't processing them properly. Holding on to those emotions are what keeps you in the dynamic. So after I said, screw it, I'm not going to be part of this, I let it go. Um, that's when, within a year, I had bought a new house. This was a really nice house. You can see from some of the photos. Um, I bought the very first car I ever bought. It was a BMW 330. Um, all within a year after that moment of just letting it go. I know I'm making it sound easier than it is, and it isn't. There are some things worth fighting for, um, but fighting a battle over being right is not one of those things. At the end of this, my wife and I, we spent a couple years in this house, and we decided to go on to the next adventure. I left tech, and I'll talk about that in a bit. Um, but right now we're traveling through Mexico. We're going to slow travel the world probably for the rest of our lives. But now I work with interesting people. I'm traveling. I have a great relationship with my kids. Um, and that insanity, trying to fight that insanity is that desire is gone. Um, But one thing that stuck with me is that it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And being in that divorce is trying to, well, first of all, I was trying to change that profoundly sick society, and you can't do that. All you can do is help the individuals. You can't help a whole. So, how did I get myself out of that? First thing I did was First thing you need to do is put your own oxygen mask on first. Our instinct as men is usually to fix others and help others. But we can't do that unless we help ourselves first. So for me, it came down to why. You can't lead if you're lost. And as a father, you are essentially leading, you're creating the new generation. I didn't want my kids to see me as a loser. I didn't want to model a shitty relationship. I wanted to model a good relationship for them. So I had to become my kid's superhero. And it hurt that um, the courts, my ex, Those old friends didn't see me as a good father. So I wanted to become the best father I could. And one of the things I deeply believe is a biological father has profound impact on the kids. And this is one of the things I just found insane is that a system would try to take you would villainize a father despite how important he is to his kids' upbringing. So boys with fathers who are present, here's a couple of stats. They're 98% more likely to graduate high school. They're 75% less likely to get pregnant as teenagers, 42% less likely to use drugs and alcohol, and 33% less likely to be obese. And boys with absent fathers are 5 times more likely to be incarcerated. So why I didn't, the thing I was trying to fight in my divorce was why they were trying to put my kids into that situation. The why behind the reason I work with fathers is their why is very clear. For me, I would take a bullet from these kids. And um, sometimes this sometimes personal growth, men are resistant to it because it confronts them with difficult truths. If your why is big enough, you'll do whatever it takes to get there. This is the way I see this personal growth. You go from, you start on the inside. Going through a divorce is an incredibly wounding time, and there's a lot of shame associated with it. So you retreat back into yourself, and that represents the inner circle. And you don't want anybody else inside that circle. But with fathers, they have to go outside because they see their kids and they want what's best for their kids. So they go from that inner circle of just, protecting themselves to protecting their kids. And the barrier that's usually there, each of those circles represents resistance, and um, resistance is any act that rejects immediate gratification in favor of long-term growth. So what that means is helping your kids to grow. What does it mean to allow them into your heart? If a relationship hurts you through a divorce, then it's going to, your divorce your ego is going to protect you against more relationships in the future. So that's the resistance to allowing your kids into your circle. And then the next step I found was trusting platonic relationships. My ex tried to destroy those for me. And the next barrier I found there was nihilism. And then romantic relationships, I was still carrying around a lot of anger. And in order to allow those romantic relationships into my life, I had to get over that anger. And when you're there, it feels really good. You have your kids, you have your friends, you have your romantic relationships, and the barrier I found to continue growing past that was hedonism, just feeling good in that time. Like I said, I put romantic relationships on the outside. I think they're the most challenging. This was us through a drive through Napa Valley near San Francisco, and this is where I warn about the red pill. I don't think you can have a deep relationship until you've resolved that anger inside of you. And I don't want to paint this my relationship now as perfect. It's not. I love her deeply. We've had our challenges, but it's that commitment and willingness to work through things together. I really believe that the strongest people have walked through hell, but they still have kindness to them. They're still full of kindness. They're still willing to share love. Um, and I think that can only enhance your relationships. So, what I believe is you don't have a legal problem. That guy with that stack of boxes, he didn't have a legal problem. He had a spiritual problem. Spiritual means, in this case, means the connection to yourself. And somewhere along the way, you lost that connection. You lost your path. You lost your connection to yourself. So a divorce shows you where you have disconnected from yourself. There's a lot of shame around a divorce. And I think a great reframe is to look at it as though you are experiencing what I call the baseball bat moment. I think life talks to you. I don't mean to get too woo-woo here. Life speaks to us. And the baseball bat moment is a moment you can't ignore, and it's meant to wake you up. It's to get you to pay attention to something in your life that needs it. What that is really depends on you. And we'll do an exercise in a bit that will help to start showing you how to figure that out. The bigger truth here is that we see stress and pain because we see more challenge than we do support. And then the opposite is true. You can see too much support for the amount of challenge, and that's infatuation. So seeing less support than more is a lie, and the vice versa is a lie. The truth is there is an equal amount of challenge and support in everything. And that truth is what sets you free. Again, we're going to do an exercise in a minute that will show you some of this. How do you start dissolving those those illusions? And I follow 3 sacred rituals. I do these every day: meditation, movement, and time in nature. Meditation can start with 5 minutes a day. Start with the breath. You can join my meditation cave. I run it on Sunday mornings. I've got some recordings of meditations. The intention of meditation is to bring you into the present moment. The past is over with. The future hasn't happened yet. All that matters is right now. Movement. Our body stores emotions. Work the emotions out. You have your best thoughts when you're moving, when you're going for a walk. It can be as simple as a 20-minute walk. And time in nature. That grounds us. Who isn't in a better mood after going for a walk? It grounds us. It takes away those heavy energies. Go out in nature, enjoy yourself. Now, a lot of people say, I don't want to sit and meditate, and that's fine. Meditation isn't sitting there staring at the wall going, although that is one form of it. If that doesn't work for you, don't do it. There's nothing like boxing to get you into the present moment. That's the goal of meditation, to be now. You don't want to get punched in the face. You got to be present. If you're thinking about something that's going on 2 weeks from now, you're going to get punched in the face. So I've got a list of 20 things that will help you to the 20 alternatives to meditation. Things like martial arts, deep work, playing with your kids, going for a walk, making dinner, putting music on, rocking out, anything that gets you into the present moment. I saw a comment where somebody said, does anybody feel like their divorce changed them? I feel like I have a big scar. And yes, but the wound is the place where the light enters you. This is where you start to recognize that balance of yin and yang, of challenge and support. What are you getting out of your divorce? World breaks everyone, and afterwards, some are strong at the broken places. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Okay, now I've been talking a lot. I want to give you the opportunity to prove some of this. So, if you have it, if you don't have it, no problem. This is a workbook. I sent it to you. It has a lot of the information we're covering so far. But specifically, I want to work with this page. So let's take 2 minutes now and do the first two steps. And don't think about this too much. Simply write what the three most negative or painful experiences are of your past. Give me a thumbs up when you're done so I can kind of gauge this. Just raise your hand when you're done. And then step two is do this at the same, like right after it. Write the three values or skills that you love about yourself. It can be being kind to others, being really organized. Okay, the next step. Draw a line between the one on the left, the negative event, and the value that came as a result. So the example here is somebody stole your puppy as a kid, and now you're an animal rights activist. That may not resonate with you, but just take a minute and do that. Let me know when you're done that. Okay. The reason for this exercise is to show you that you got something out of out of each challenging event. Now, let's pretend I have this magic wand. Pretend this is a magic wand, and I wave that magical wand, and I can take away that trauma out of your past. However, I would also take away that corresponding value that goes with it. Would you take that bargain? Most people are going to say no. So, where I'm going with this is you are going to get something out of your divorce, and you are going to find this moment where the truth is the negative is equal to the positive. You're going to see this balance. The ancients had some wisdom back then. The next exercise here, and let's take about 2 minutes to do this. What I want you to do is figure out where you are in your life now and look at what you need to work on, what is out of balance. So this is the wheel of life. And I believe that the purpose of life is to level all these areas up. These are all the areas of life: family, career, mental, environment, financial, social, physical, spiritual. Family is blood relatives, but also people you consider as close as close as family, so really close friends. Your career is your life's purpose. Don't look at this as your job. Mental is your mental clarity. So, can you think clearly? Can you learn new things? Your mental sharpness. Your environment. Do you live and work in a beautiful place, or are you somewhere where that's uncomfortable and isn't inspiring? Financial. How's your financial health? Social. How's your friend circle? Do you go out and do things? Are you enjoying it? Physical, what kind of shape are you in? Can you walk up and down the stairs without getting out of breath? Are you in good shape? Spiritual, your connection to yourself, your connection to your purpose. So what happens here is sometimes, remember I said life speaks to us and we get the baseball bat. Sometimes we put more energy into one of these areas of life. Usually for men, it's career or financial. And this wheel gets out of balance. The purpose of life is to keep this wheel, is to level up as far as you can while keeping this wheel in balance. What happens is if you have an out of balance life, you get the baseball bat moment that brings it back into balance. So let's take 2 minutes and let me know when you're done and rate yourself out of 1 to 10 on each of these areas of life. Just do this really quickly. Don't think about it too much. As soon as you get into your head, you overthink it. So just rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 really quickly. Do it from intuition. Let me know when you're ready. All right. The question here that I'd like you to ask, and you don't have to share this, this is for yourself. How are you out of balance? What has your divorce shown? Which area of life has your divorce shown that you need to bring your attention to? What's one thing you can do to take action today? What I've realized is that action is the language of life. And if we're not taking action, then we are not um, we're not on our purpose. And that's when we get that baseball bat moment. So we can choose to listen to it or we can choose to ignore it. That's the choice at this point. Okay. As you start to take that action, what can you expect? And the more you dig into this inner work, the stronger it hits. Whoops. And this work doesn't happen in a straight line, and it can be incredibly, incredibly frustrating. So, 3 qualities to being successful are as follows: courage. Courage has its roots in the French word coeur, for heart. And what we're doing as we do this work, as we move into ourselves, we're moving into the heart. Now, the heart is a very safe place, but the journey to get there is quite rocky. The one of my favorite sayings is the longest journey for a man is from his head to his heart. And I find that absolutely true. So courage is number one. Curiosity is number two. Be curious and ask. You have to be like a detective as you're doing this work. What's going on underneath? You have to be able to probe and look at the lessons that life is showing you along the way. What's really going on underneath? And the third quality is commitment. Why commitment? Ram Dass has some wise words here. The dark night of the soul. Now, it's got many names, but this is the term I like. The dark night of the soul is when you have lost the flavor of life, yet not yet gained the fullness of the divinity. It's likely that you are going through a dark night of the soul now. And that happens when you experience strong emotions or a shift in identity. Your identity has changed. If you were a father, yes, you're still one, but you might not be a full-time father. You're not a husband anymore, or a family man, and you don't have that specific lifestyle. So your identity has changed, and who are you now? And that's when you have that dark night of the soul, an identity crisis. You're changing the nature of your reality by going through this. You're reprogramming your reality. For me, the result of waking up to a sick society and not being able to control it was my shift. Where you are now is a period of transformation. And you're not who you are going to become yet, but you're not who you were before. And that's when you have these identity crises, a dark night of the soul. Our mind, and that's why I really recommend meditation as one of the foundational steps, is it disconnects you from your mind. Your mind is telling you to resist this, and you need to unlearn that process. So what do you expect? Whoops. Over the next year, you're gonna start noticing the patterns that you're living. You're gonna want to feel like you want to give up. And the analogy is overused at this point, but it's the red pill, blue pill moment. You can't untake that pill. All you can do, you can resist it, but then you're spending your time resisting the change. Your ego, the reason it is a battle inside is because your ego's inside and it's trying to keep you safe. Changing your identity, going through that transformation, you don't know the other side of that. So that feels unsafe to you. As you go through this, you might feel the need to escape. Some people describe it as trying to escape the gravity of Earth. And sometimes you come back to Earth, you get caught back up in that gravity, and you have to move out of it. You'll start to catch yourself when somebody pushes your buttons, though. And you'll notice the difference between your emotions, I called it baggage here, maybe emotions are a better term, and your own. And you might even start to understand why your ex is having those emotions and why she's acting in that way. In my case, my ex wanted that safety of where she was. By that point, in 3 years or so, these are approximate numbers. It could be a year, it could be 5 years. It depends on you. You start to be unfazed by people's reactions. And this is where I really believe that daddy energy starts to fit in, because daddy energy is that safeness. Other people have their emotions and you're unimpacted by it. When somebody else has an emotion and they're scared or they're angry and you don't react to it, they feel safe. They can have whatever reaction they want, and you just stand there like a tree. And when you have those moments, you might start even to say, thank God I had this divorce, because had I not gone through that painfulness, look at this new skill I have. I worked with a client who he went to this networking event and he saw this man there who he said he wasn't good looking. He wasn't dressed particularly well, but there was just this quality that he couldn't quite describe. And I believe that's what being in the heart is like. It's this intangible quality. Some men can dress up in beautiful clothes, drive beautiful cars, have beautiful women on their arm, but they take all of that away, and who are they? You can't take away being in your heart. I believe as you go through this journey, you'll at some point you're going to find the red pill, MGTOW. 4B is the women's version of those two philosophies. I believe they're toxic at their core, all of them. I think they're a victim mindset, and a victim mindset doesn't help anybody. At their worst, they're angry at the other gender, they commit violence, and it pits men and women against each other. You'll never have I don't believe red pill men will ever have a genuine relationship if they stay there. They'll stay unfulfilled. A good relationship is more than just the sum of its parts, and it's men and women each bringing an element into the partnership. And it's our job to find a match with someone who will grow in the same direction as us. So when we see the other gender as the problem, we are never going to find ourselves in that genuine relationship. I do think there are good elements of each of those. Take what works out of it. Absolutely. The red pill, the root of it is you're not special. That women want the strongest man. Sure. Go get in shape. Go make more money and learn to solve problems. But don't, if you gain a woman into a relationship, then you're just manipulating. That's all that is. What I'm describing about getting into your heart is much, much deeper than the red pill. So having gone through that, at this point where I am now, thank God I had that divorce. And the last thought I'll leave you with is finding the gift of your divorce, and I promise you that there is always one, is how you move forward. Learning to be grateful for your divorce is your ticket out of the hell. Now, as I said, 2-minute pitch. I wouldn't be here without the guidance that I had along the way. And so I want to acknowledge the coaches I've worked with, the guidance I've gotten through the years. And once you've been through something difficult like a divorce, I find I want to help others through along the way. So I've got two options to work with me. I offer one-on-one coaching. You can go to my website and see that. And I'm just starting up a membership. If you join in the next 2 weeks, I'll give you a free one-on-one coaching call. The membership is the introductory price is $50 a month, $49 a month. That's only going to last for a certain period of time. And the membership provides weekly group coaching, support from others in the community, as well as the philosophy and programs and tools to help you navigate through your divorce. So more things like the exercise we did in the middle of this. That's it. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to stop recording now.